Let's solve this equation by completing the square. So the first step is to isolate the x's on, say, the left side and get the constant on the right side. So that's going to give us x squared minus 8x, I'll leave a little space there, equals 4, right? We're going to add 4 to each side. Now let's complete the square on these two terms here. So I'm going to write this as something squared, and we know what to put in here, right? We're going to put an x. And then if we ran through the pattern, what's the pattern? You square the first, there's the x squared. You multiply these two together and you double it. Now if you double something, we're getting negative 8x. So what do you double to get negative 8? Negative 4. But then if we keep going, right, you square the first, getting x squared, multiply these together, negative 4x, double it, you get negative 8x. But if you keep going, you're going to square the negative 4, getting plus 16. So what if we do this, we're really adding in 16 to the left side. So to keep this thing balanced, this equation balanced, we're going to have to add that 16 over here on the right side. So we're going to have 4 plus 16. This will give us x minus 4 squared equals 20. And now we're back to an equation like we had back in problems 24 and 25. We'll take square roots of each side. So square root of x minus 4 squared equals square root of 20. On the left side, square root of the square gives us the absolute value of x minus 4 equals, now that 20 I can break into 4 times 5. The square root of 4 is 2 square roots of 5. Let's remove the absolute value sign. So now we get x minus 4. This is where we get plus or minus 2 square root of 5. And one more step, we'll add in this 4. So we will get x equals 4 plus or minus 2 square roots of 5. Let's go a little bit further. The problem doesn't ask us to do this, but let's give this a try. Let's solve this equation here by using the quadratic formula. So I'm going to rewrite this equation as x squared minus 8x minus 4 equals 0. And I'm going to identify a equals, b equals, c equals. And in the general form of a quadratic equation, what we've got is this: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So the a, well, that's the coefficient of x squared. A is the coefficient of x squared, and our coefficient over here is a 1. B is the coefficient of the linear term, and our coefficient of the linear term here is negative 8. So our b is going to be negative 8. And c, that's a constant. Our constant is negative 4. So let's write that. We'll get negative 4 here. And now let's put these numbers into the quadratic formula, which is x equals, okay, this big fraction here, negative b, or the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And we've got our a, b, and c right up here. So it's just a matter of substitution. So we are going to get now x equals, all right, now this is negative b. This is the opposite of b. Our b is negative 8. So we're going to get the opposite of negative 8 plus or minus the square root of, now, this is b squared. Our b is negative 8. So we are going to get negative 8 squared, and then minus 4 times a, right? Negative 4 times a, but a is 1. So we'll get a 1 times c, and c is negative 4. Square root of all that. And all of this is divided by 2 times a, and a is 1. So this is a matter of just arithmetic now. So we're going to get x equals, okay, opposite of negative 8 is 8. Plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared is 64. And then negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. This gives us x equals 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 and 16 is an 80 all over 2. X equals 8 plus or minus something over 2. Now, 80 is kind of a big number, so we're maybe not used to this, but 80 turns out to be 16 times 2. You know, what perfect square is going to 80? Well, the biggest one that we can find is 16 times 5. So what we're going to write here is square root of 16 times 5. I'll do it up here, and then we'll get x equals 8 plus or minus, now square root of 16 is 4, so we'll get 4 square roots of 5 all over 2. So if I take that 4 out, I'm left with x equals 4 and then 2 plus or minus square root of 5 all over 2. And then this 2 will go into the 4 twice. So we are left with x equals 2 times 2 plus or minus square root of 5, which really is the same thing we have over here, just with the 2 factored out. If you want to multiply through, you'll see it. 2 times 2 is the 4, plus or minus 2 square roots of 5.